back, people. We are back. Your favorite. And I'm never lying. When I say this, I don't know why y'all be thinking I'm lying. Look at the look on my face. I'm never lying. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airways, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos. I like to specifically thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven, I love you. I miss you. You see the background, right? It's a whole bunch of Ramoses. I love you. Episode 113. You better have my money, like ODB. Anyways, episode 113. First off, I gotta say hello to the guy who's on the screen to my right. I miss being in the studio with you, brother. We did so many things in the studio. I miss seeing you. I get to see your face every day, but on the real, that was our meeting day. My compadre, my brother, mi amigo. I'm nothing without him. You can hear my voice all you want. He actually runs the show behind me. I'm nothing without him. Tristan, the star. What's up, baby?
What's going on? It's another Tuesday. 113. Man, that's a lot of episodes. It's a lot of shows. But we keeping it rocking. We keeping it going and doing this thing. So I'm excited for this episode today.
113 is a lot of shows. You're the one that doesn't have to say it all the time. You know what I'm saying? but be lucky about that. You know how many names he told me that I've had to pronounce, and he said, you better than me. I would have skipped over it, Mikhail. But I actually want to get it right. But anyways, joining us, how many years we've been in this game? I can't be, as someone who lives in Baltimore and is originally from the DMV, I can't be in it without hearing Kelsey's name, without hearing her name over and over and over again. You know Kelsey? Yeah, that's a good friend of mine. You're mad that she's not yours. Anyways, she is a voice on 106.7 The Fan. She is beautiful. She's great. She's also the host on You Can't Be Nothing With About KNN. So he is also a host of her own podcast as well. It's a KNN takeover. Kelsey, you're rolling with Ramos.
Thank you so much for having me, Mikhail. You know you're my sister in sports. Maryland girls doing it big on the big stage. Always just honored and glad to be here and keep it real with you. And I'll tell you, Mikhail, you talked about giving money out earlier. So if you are, I will gladly take some. Girls got bills. First of the month, got pay rent, so I'll also put that out there. But I appreciate you having me on.
I tell you, like I tell Tristan and everybody else, $5 helps a friend in need. I am that friend. Hey. So bring it. So Johnny Manziel me, show me the money. Exactly. Before we get started, tell everybody where they can find you and your beautiful work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So if everyone wants to check out my work, check out my show, Listen In with KNN. It's by Fox Sports Radio. You can check it out on my Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube page. Just YouTube, Kelsey Nelson. Brand new live stream shows every Thursday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday at 2 p.m. Randy Grimes is joining me next. I'm so excited to have him. That name might ring a bell for Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. He played 10 years with the Bucs, and he's also the founder of Athletes in Recovery. So doing lots of great things. Great guy that I met a couple years back at the Super Bowl. Also check out audio versions of the show every Wednesday that drop on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. And of course, check out all of my work with the Washington football team on the Washington football team's YouTube, Twitter channels, Instagram, basically everywhere where the Washington football team is, you can check out the work and the TV show on NBC Sports Washington on Saturday morning. So thanks so much, Michael.
If you missed it, you gotta follow her because that's what you gotta do, man.
She's everywhere.
You gotta go find her and you gotta follow her. Let's get into this thing, shall we?
Let's do it.
113. Last week, we paid homage to nobody as we celebrated our 4-year anniversary. 4 years of them things you've been rolling with Ramos. We like to thank everybody every week for allowing us to come into your homes and you get your sports from us. This week, though, we turn the tides because we go back to the person that wore the jersey because we had some people that we missed the first time around. Episode 113. This goes to a former American football quarterback who played in the National Football League for 17 seasons with the Miami Dolphins after a successful college career at Pittsburgh and being named first-team All-American in 1981. He was the last quarterback taken in the first round of the quarterback class of 1983. However, he held or currently holds downs of NFL records associated with the quarterback position. And despite never being on a Super Bowl winning team, He is recognized among the greatest quarterbacks in American football history. You should know who I'm talking about. Episode 113, the Dan Marino edition.
There you go.
That's a powerful one. We got a lot to live up to with this one. I'm excited. We're making 13. I know it's an unlucky number, but we're going to make it lucky on the show tonight. So I'm excited.
That's right. That's right.
It's lucky because it's Tuesday, baby. It's not Friday. But ironically, some of the best things that have happened to me have happened on Friday the 13th. I figure it's it might be the parallel. It's what people want you to think. A black cat crosses the street. Might be luck. Don't run away from it. Anyways, in keeping up with the NFL, we start with the big news of the week. There's a big guy in Texas that's no longer a Texan. J.J. Watt. According to ESPN, free agent pass rusher J.J. Watt has agreed to a 2-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. The team announced Monday. That was yesterday. Terms were not disclosed, but a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter that the deal is worth $31 million and includes $23 million guaranteed. Watt, who is 31, was released by the Houston Texans, who granted his request on February 12th, ending his 10-year run with the franchise. I always say the man deserves a damn statue there. That's a decade of that one brother. Anyways, 4 days later, Watt's former Texans teammate and current Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins posted on Instagram a photo of himself and Watt edited to be in a Cardinals uniform with the caption, "Let's finish what we started." Watt will reunite with Vance Joseph, the Cardinals defensive coordinator, who was the Texans defensive backs coach during Watt's first 3 seasons in Houston. In Arizona, Watt will be paired with fellow pass rusher Chandler Jones, who leads the NFL in sacks since he was drafted in the first round in 2012 with 97. Second during that span is Watt with 95.5. Now, Stephen A. Smith is already calling out this Arizona Cardinals defense and saying, damn, this might be something you don't want to mess with. First of all, let's talk about J.J. Watt, him going to Arizona, what that means for the Arizona Cardinals as they try to revamp themselves. Kelsey, you're a guest in my home, as I point to it literally behind this screen. J.J. Watt, he is no longer a Texan. He's an Arizona Cardinal. How you feel about it?
Oh my gosh. So look, there was a time that we just didn't think we'd see J.J. Watt out of a Houston Texans uniform, right? I mean, he was Houston and Houston was him. And I mean, off the football field, what J.J. Watt did for Houston, raising all of those funds and just really giving to the people of Houston. You know, J.J. Watt was what John Wall was to us in D.C., right? He was kind of that invincible piece that made it whole. And lo and behold, we hear about this disgruntlement in Houston. But wait, J.J. Watt, our All-American guy, is unhappy, and then he's talking about going to a contender. And then next thing we know, he's heading out to Arizona. I think it had some people scratching their heads, but I actually do think J.J. Watt was pretty smart. Look, he's getting up in age. In March, he's going to be 32, which in football terms is getting older, right? And you're looking at J.J. Watt, who was coming off a year where he wasn't the happiest, right? He was getting doubled. He had his low sack total. That wasn't the J.J. Watt the NFL fans knew and loved. And I think he's starting to look fresh and look new, right? We saw Tom Brady and what he did in the Buccaneers. And I think a lot of these guys are seeing, I mean, let's be honest, loyalty in sports is kind of a thing of the past and going away. No, I want my money and I want a championship ring. And I think fans are looking for that. Players are looking for that. And I think for JJ, it's going to be a brand new start for him. I like him on this defense a lot. I think he's going to change tides. And if I'm Kyler Murray, I'm doing this. I'm smiling. I am smiling. I'm happy because my defense is finally going to, I think, live up to better pressures. And then with J.J. Watt, again, just his leadership. Think about what he'll do in the locker room. Again, you're looking at a guy that's truly one of the best to do it in the National Football League, continuing to prove his work ethic, what he can bring to you. And also, I think what he's going to do to the Arizona community. So I like the move, and we're talking about defense now in Arizona. I think it's going to be exciting times. Arizona is continuing to build, and I think somehow Arizona keeps getting lucky, right? With Houston's woes and Houston's just misfortunes. Arizona is that guy the guy that's always looking, right? The guy that she told you not to worry about. That's what the Arizona Cardinals are for the Houston Texans.
Kelsey, I'm coming to an understanding that I should have named this show the Beat Better Have My Money edition because we've been talking about money this whole time. Tristan, J.J. Watt is no longer a Houston Texan. He is the Arizona Cardinals. Will he find career redemption down in the desert?
Well, I mean, as far as like maybe like personal gain, like the numbers, like like Kelsey said, he had low numbers, career lows last year, and I think with him and Chandler Jones returning to that defense, is going to be proved to be major. They still got Isaiah Simmons, their draft pick from this past year, and I think they'll use him a little better. I think that down the stretch they started understanding who he is and how to utilize him to the best of his ability. So, I think it's on a come up. But for me, honestly, it just didn't move the needle for me. And the reason why I say that is because I thought at this juncture where JJ Watt is as far as his career, you want to go to a team that's like you almost guaranteed to get a deep playoff run, possibly a Super Bowl championship. That was my thought. So when I heard Arizona Cardinals, I said Arizona. Like that wasn't even in my thought process. Like I didn't understand that. I mean, are we even going to say Arizona is going to be the best in their division, let alone competing in the conference, in the playoffs? You still got to deal with the Rams because I think it's a major upgrade from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay in that offense. I think that's going to be crazy. And they had a top defense last year. So, and then you got Seattle, they're going to retool. Now I know there's issues with Russell Wilson that will completely change, things for them. But let's just say for right now, he stays. Are we looking at Arizona being on top of that NFC West, that competitive division? 49ers, people acting like as if the 49ers are a bad football team. They're not a bad football team. What happened is that they had like a record-setting number of injuries last year. That's what happened to the 49ers. So, and then the year before that, they were playing in the Super Bowl. So that they're going to come back into it. So is it enough? I don't know. I can't say. And for JJ Watt, I'm like, man, I thought you wanted to go get a title. Like, do you think your ship has sailed with that? But he had a bunch of offers. So I was kind of confused. I didn't think it didn't move the needle for me. I think his personal numbers will be great. But as far as the team overall, and I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I'm saying they're in a very tough division. And I don't even see them leading that division, let alone competing in the conference for a Super Bowl.
Kelsey, and then you could follow up, Tristan. We're seeing a guy that's been on one team for 10 years. His last couple of interviews before he left Houston was about the lack of wanting to, the lack of the want of will to win that he was seeing in that locker room. He said he basically was calling everybody out saying, all y'all are just lazy. I don't see you. We can go out there and lose all the games we want to lose. But if you're not even trying, it doesn't even matter. Now, I understand that that's someone that became fed up. And for JJ Watt, like you said, to come out and this all-American guy say something, there was trouble. But at the same time, is it also the mantra of frustration of athletes who are frustrated with that front office? What am I playing for if what I'm looking around me is chaos? Deshaun Watson on one side of there. You gave DeAndre Hopkins away for like peanut brittle. And it's probably something worse that I can name for what they gave DeAndre Hopkins away. They gave him away for free, basically. DeAndre Hopkins, you got Deshaun Watson wanting out, and then you got the guy who's been the staple since you opened the damn arena. He wants to go. What is that saying about the Texans organization? It's making it a lot worse for anybody who wants to play there who already is, correct?
Yeah, I think for a long time we've been yelling, Houston, we have a problem, because they really do. You have your star quarterback saying, hey, I want out. They're throwing the house at him, trying to do everything they can to please you, right? This is relationship. The guy's rubbing your feet. He's taking you out to dinner, trying to give you flowers, and you're still like, nope, there's nothing left. And that's what we're seeing in Houston. And it just shows that there is a toxin in that locker room. When you have a guy like JJ Watt, who it seemed like would be your ride or die, right? If we're Bonnie and Clyde, all of a sudden say, you know what? I got to get out this car. I'm not with this anymore. And then lo and behold, again, he goes to a team that we weren't even looking at. If you think you have to look at the front office, and let's be honest, JJ Watt is known for his work ethic. He wants guys around him that are hungry, right? When you look at JJ Watt's work ethic and just how much he trains, and really that whole Watt family, right? If we're being honest, but specifically looking at JJ, he's kind of like what Russell Westbrook is here with the Wizards, right? Meaning when Russell Westbrook came, they talked about his work ethic, how he gets to practice early, and how he's, when he first came, Scott Brooks was like, this guy's here there hours early before practice. And what does that teach a young Wizards team, right? Tom Brady, doesn't matter how old he is, Tom Brady's work ethic, like, oh, I won the Super Bowl. He had that drunk moment, and then now he's back practicing, getting ready to hopefully win maybe another one. I think that's what JJ is. But I think JJ is just seeing there's a lot of problems going on around me, right? When there's a lot going on around you, it's hard to focus. When there's chaos around you, right? When the world is burning and everything's burning, JJ wanted a fresh and new start. And I think one thing he said is he wanted to go to a contender. I think Tristan hit it right on the head. Arizona is not a contender yet. They are a solid team. They're not a bad team. They are a solid team. It'll be interesting to see next season. I think we'll look at the wild card and see what they can possibly do. You look at this past season and look at how close they were. I think he is a piece, but I do think we have to look at the Texans organization, not just on the football field. We've heard other problems, diversity problems, right, with the Houston Texans. We've heard issues with the communications director when they got rid of her, talking about a woman. We've heard diversity issues with the Texans. Deshaun Watson has spoken out about these issues. And I think, you know what, when enough is enough, enough is enough. And you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's happening now with Deshaun Watson, and he's just waiting for the divorce to sign the paper. He's waiting for the other side. But JJ got out, right? I think when you see a house burning, do you stay in and try to rebuild it, or do you go out and seek a new house? That's exactly what J.J. Watt did. I do like Arizona. They're a young and budding team. They're finding these pieces. They still need that glue to stick it together. But I think the sky is the limit, right, for Kyler Murray and what he can do in that defensive side. If that guy gets strong, they are going to be a very interesting team to watch, and I think a fun one to cover.
Tristan.
Well, let's take a quick trip down memory lane, shall we?
Let's do it, Tristan.
You driving the bus, brother? What's up?
I'm driving this one. So we're going to go back to 2002, okay? 2002, the Texans with the #1 pick in that draft took David Carr, okay? David Carr was an awesome quarterback coming out of college. David Carr still holds the record for single season sacks being placed on him. I want people to understand that when David Carr came to the Texans, because if you weren't really watching it at the time, you would say, oh, David Carr was just another one of those NFL busts. No. David Carr is a product of the dysfunction that the Houston Texans have had since they were founded back in 1999. He is that product. You did not give David Carr an offensive line at all through his entire tenure there. So he's running for his life. He only had one option, that was Andre Johnson. That was the only option that he had for a number of years, to the point that you cast him off, and then he's a career backup for the rest of his career. David Carr was actually a really good QB that really could have shined. But at that point, it's like a boxer when he gets punch drunk. It's just not the same. You're not confident in that pocket. You're not confident in what you're going to do. You're hearing footsteps. You're seeing ghosts, as Sam Darnold once said. That's the issue that you run into when you get hit that many times. And I'm talking about he has the record in sacks. We're not even including the QB hits that he took in that time frame. So you're dealing with all of that. Then when you are now on top of the draft again, instead of trying to get something to solidify for your offense, you went and go get Mario Williams. Then you put all the pressure on Mario Williams to be this defensive juggernaut, because everyone's looking at him thinking like he's the next Lawrence Taylor or Jason Taylor, even, just with his athleticism and what he can do. But you put all that weight on Mario Williams to the point that he ended up burning out, instead of taking Reggie Bush, who would have been a great option for your run game to help out other than David Carr. Then you go to Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub has great numbers, bubble numbers, but it was all for naught because you still had Andre Johnson. You didn't get a second wide receiver to pair with Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson being the ultimate loyal guy, he stood his whole career over there. And then now you finally getting some pieces. You get DeAndre Hopkins in there. You get Arian Foster in there, but you still don't fix the offensive line. You go through all these channels and you don't answer the ones that need to be answered. Then you went and you drafted Clowney. Everyone's saying that he's the next Lawrence Taylor. He was dealing with injuries. You try to force him to get on the football field, even though he had the lingering injuries coming out of college. So it slowed his production. Then when he's finally getting himself underway, where him and J.J. Watt are looking like they're starting to become that tandem that you envisioned all the time, you let him walk out the door because you didn't want to pay him like an extra $3 million. Like, This is what the Texans do. Like, they've always been this dysfunctional. They've always operated in this manner. So now we're in a situation where basically the Texans are like a black hole in the NFL. You have pillars, not just regular disgruntled players that played for you that are upset. No, literally the Mount Rushmore of the Houston Texans have all said something about you in a negative sense. J.J. Watt has said something negative about you. Deshaun Watson is on the verge to potentially retire. If you don't ship him out, he will retire on you. You had DeAndre Hopkins that says something about you. And then of all people who doesn't say anything at all, I don't think I ever heard him since he retired. Andre Johnson said something about you. We haven't heard from this man in years. And he came out and said something to your dysfunction. It is a travesty that has gone this long. I blame the other 31 owners in the NFL for allowing this to go as long as it has gone, because it makes no sense that you had a franchise that were picking in the top 5 for so many years and nothing capitalized on it. Literally, your only playoff success is off of the sheer will of Deshaun Watson in his young career. And you have done nothing to try to make anything better for him in that aspect. So they deserve to be in this place right now, to be quite honest. I really do hope that they find a way to trade Deshaun Watson and see what else they're going to do. But if not, I hope Deshaun Watson, sticks his cleats in the ground and said, well, I'll retire. If you're not going to trade me, I'll retire, and you're going to have to figure it out. Because at this point, they don't know how to operate a franchise. They don't know how to run an organization. They don't know how to take care of their key players that they need to take care of and how to choose the assets that they need to choose. I mean, there's no reason that if Deshaun Watson wants out of your franchise, this guy that is a budding superstar in the NFL, still only 25 years old and doing the things that he does at the quarterback position, and you don't want to trade him, knowing that you will get all the assets in the world, and you don't want to trade him, just shows the dysfunction that you take place. Because I promise you, every team that's looking at Deshaun Watson right now, they're going to give you pennies. And the reason why they're going to give you pennies is because you've allowed Deshaun Watson to sit there and fester in his anger and express the fact that he doesn't want to play for you. So you can't go out there demanding 3 first-round picks and 2 defensive starters. No. Why? Because Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play for you. So you're going to take this second round, you maybe your first, you're going to take these, and I'm going to take him because he doesn't want to play for you. So it's either you take what you can get, or you're going to be left stuck without a quarterback. Plain and simple. They deserve everything that's happening to them right now.
And ladies and gentlemen, if we go back down more of this black hole you speak of, Tristan, that whole comment of we can't let the slaves run the ship. I think that will always be the precedent of what it means to play in Texas, right or wrong.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That comment was so offensive on so many levels, and to have that come from the top, and let's be honest, the National Football League is majority black. Just wow. And then you think about the other comments that was made about DeAndre Hopkins and his family situation, right?
Exactly.
They're just disrespectful, right? And I think we all come from households where if you get disrespected, you leave, right? Because when people show you their true colors, they're showing you who they really are, right? And that's absolutely what we've been seeing time and time again from the Texans organization. Again, if you have a cancer, something's toxic, you got to get rid of it, because otherwise it's going to continue to spread. It's continuing to spread, and now you're losing very good pieces of this Texans franchise. And when those good pieces are gone, it's going to be very hard to rebuild. Remember, we're in the National Football League, but we have some very good teams. You have Tom Brady still doing it, but then you have this guy named Patrick Mahomes that's also just come out of nowhere and continue to build and develop. And Deshaun Watson, one of those bright, young stars who really just needs a quality cast around him and ownership that supports him in his growth. And it's going to be something special. And so I really do hope that they give Deshaun Watson his gift, let him go, take what you get back from it. But they're really going to have to make some changes in the Texans organization if they want to see real change. Or otherwise, Texans fans, it's going to be a long time before you see anything. You'll be waiting like the Chiefs fans. They had to wait 50 years. Y'all might be waiting 50 years, maybe 50 years plus more if you want to see a championship.
Well, shoot, at this rate, they probably going to call us, but we ain't going to want to go. But anyway. Rolling with Ramos, episode 113. I'm Ramos. You know what's funny? A lot of people tell me, Mikkel, I forgot your name was Mikkel. I've been calling you Ramos for so long. Anyways, I'm Ramos. That's Tristan. And then there's Kelsey joining us tonight, our special guest, KNN checking in. Make sure you drop those comments down below, Tristan. I'm pretty sure you'll read them later. Make sure y'all talk to us. Talk to Kelsey. Shoot, you only got him for one night. I made this happen for you, fellas. Take it or leave it. Anyway. And I don't think Tristan minds being outnumbered tonight. I don't think he does.
I never mind.
Tristan can handle it. If anybody can handle it, it's Tristan Morris right there. So he's in good
That's right.
As we're talking in prime time, let's move on to prime time, which puts us in college sports in a minute with Tristan. Kelsey, we know you're a college football girl too. This takes us to Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Deion Sanders wins debut at Jackson State University. They rout Edward Waters. Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders won his college coaching debut Sunday as Jackson State defeated NAIA opponent Edward Waters 53-0 at Mississippi Veteran Memorial Stadium. Sanders is 1-0. Sanders became the head coach of Jackson State University last September and waited until Sunday to make his debut on the sideline because the school postponed their season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Tigers built a 31-0 halftime lead and cruised to a 53-0 win to kick off their 8-game schedule. Jackson State will play Mississippi Valley State next weekend. Prime Time and his team make a big splash in the college football world. How are we feeling about this, Kelsey? Me and Tristan have already previously talked about how his advancement into the HBCU world will advance the HBCU world. What are your thoughts on that and your thoughts on his first win in Jackson State?
Yeah, I'll tell you. People that don't know this, my family is from Jackson, Mississippi. All of my aunts went to Jackson State University, so I am the product of Jackson State alumni. My dad went to Grambling State University. So you're talking about someone who grew up in a world of HBCU sports. It's kind of how I got into sports, and that's where I grew up, right? I grew up in a world of Bayou Classics, and I used to spend my summers in Jackson. When I tell you, it's so great to see hotel rooms sold out. It's hard to get into the Jackson airport, and that's all because of Prime Time and what he's doing for this Jackson State football program, making it relevant again. I think this is what we've needed for a long time. We've known talent has been at HBCUs, but we're calling for the talent to come back. And when you get somebody like Prime Time, right, who's done it on the football field and is flashy, he can do it in style, it's exciting. In my lifetime, I have not seen that many media members excited about Jackson State University football. It's been a very, very long time. If you think about it, Jackson State, you're thinking about a school that produced a guy that we all know by the name of Walter Payton. You're talking about Robert Brazile and so many others. There's a long storied history there. And so I think what Deion Sanders is doing for that program is really uplifting it. You're talking about top recruits now, considering Jackson State. He's bringing in quality guys. He's rebuilding this program. They're investing more into the athletics programs. And that's what HBCUs need. And I'll tell you, the win in AIA school, not surprising, but I was very glad it happened and it got good attention on Deion Sanders. But I think the bigger story, unfortunately, is what happened with his belongings, right? So we heard his belongings got stolen. All this stuff happened. Okay, they were found, but just the way he reacted to put a bad light and cast a bad light on HBCUs. I think when things happen and you're a football coach, you have to think things through, right? I know we all get mad. Like if someone takes something from me and it's gone and I know it was there before, I'm going to be mad about it. But we all know, unfortunately, that HBCUs are judged by a different level and people have all these negative connotations and stereotypes of these schools. And so when that came out, I was looking at Twitter and people were like, oh, not surprised it happened. Well, why are you not surprised it happened? And again, that goes back and feeds into it. Remember, we're changing the culture. Working with the Washington football team, we're changing the culture. So everything has to be thought through diligently. And I hated that because it took away that beating that they did over Edward Waters. It was more about, all right, Deion Primetime Sanders got his belongings taken. Now we're not talking about the athletes. Now we're not talking about the legacy of HBCUs. We're talking about Deion Sanders and his belongings getting taken. So I think that was unfortunate, and I hate, whatever happened, the misplacing or whatever happened. But I do think, again, when we're looking at HBCUs, we're trying to uplift them, right? We see HBCU programs going through a lot. COVID really hurt HBCUs and their programs. And you're talking again about the SWAC. And when you're talking about the SWAC and SWAC football and HBCUs, a long storied history, I want the attention to be on that. I want national media to focus on that because we're looking at some quality guys that can possibly make their way into the National Football League. And again, making Jackson State University and that football program back relevant again. So I'm excited for Deion. I know let bygones be bygones. I'm excited for the future. But again, I just thought it was an unfortunate incident that unfortunately it was like a bright light that then got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because of that story.
Tristan, Primetime gets his first win. It comes with his baggage being taken away. So people kind of looked at it as it was, well, you shouldn't have went there anyway. What you think was going to happen? Talk about that. Also talk about, we're sitting up here, the closest HBCU to us outside of Bowie State would be the one that we went to, Lee Morgan State University. They were going to play, and then they decided to get out of it and not play. And all this protocol, anything, the MEAC season, only maybe 3 or 4 teams are even going to be involved in it. It's not, what is it? But HBCUs, that pandemic hit. Kelsey brings up an excellent point, but Primetime gets his first win. And how did you feel about the baggage claim? We're going to call it that.
Well, I was I felt the same way that Kelsey felt in regards to what happened with his belongings, because it did put that kind of like a black eye to that whole day. It was really a proud moment for HBCUs, for someone like Primetime. This is not a, no disrespect to the guys that have had NFL experiences that have become head coaches. Our own head coach at the National Treasure, Morgan State University, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you know what I'm saying? So it's no disrespect to those guys that are doing it, but this is Prime. This is, 21. This is the Hall of Famer, the best corner out there, like top tier, and coming to Jackson State, especially a guy that didn't go to an HBCU. Guy played at Florida State, you know what I'm saying? So,
well, Florida State might as well been an HBCU. Miami too.
Florida State back then was a powerhouse. Okay, the Florida State today, yes, I understand.
All the years of staying in the DMV, how long did it take you to realize Georgetown wasn't an HBCU? Anyway.
That's right. That's very true. That's very true. It's just it was very tough. It was very tough to see that, and hopefully that just could be something that we just put to the back burner and can move forward as Jackson State continues success. And it's like, you got me rooting for Jackson State, and I'm just like, I never root for Jackson State. I root for their band, but I don't ever root for the team. But like, I'm rooting for the team because I feel like they're the ones holding the HBCU banner as far as having these prominent, former players that turn coaches, to come back to these schools. I mean, people, I don't know, it's something maybe one day when I have time, I don't know when, it's probably something I'll probably really dig into, but I really want to know where the disconnect took place as far as like the HBCUs, like the recognition of the players that come from HBCUs. Like you mentioned, Kelsey, we talk about Walter Payton, Shannon Sharp, as an HBCU guy. Like there's a lot of players.
Willie Lanier,
Jerry Rice. I mean, Leroy Kelly was the guy that replaced Jim Brown for Cleveland and had an excellent career. And he's in the Hall of Fame and played at the National Treasure, Morgan State University. It's just like a lot of different scenarios where HBCUs have kicked out a lot of Hall of Famers, like not slouches, like legitimate Hall of Fame players. And I'm just wondering where the disconnect took place, where HBCUs weren't valued in that capacity anymore. I mean, Doug Williams gave the Buccaneers their first winning season. Like, let's not even talk about what he did for Washington and being the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. He gave the Bucs their first winning season in their entire franchise history. Like, they were a joke before he got there. And he had to deal with the racism there. He had parts of his offensive line that didn't want to block for him because he was black. Like,
and
these guys.
And he was getting paid there for the Buccaneers too. Just have to put that.
Exactly. So it's just like, where did this disconnect come from? Where people that look like us feel like they have to go to Alabama, they have to go to LSU, they have to go to Clemson, they got to go to Ohio State, they got to go to Michigan, they got to go to Penn State, instead of going to Jackson State, going to Morgan State, going to Grambling, going to Hampton, going to Howard. What happened to that where we feel like our people can't flourish at these HBCUs when we've had the track record? We've had the track record of these awesome players. So that's something I really, probably one day I'm really, really going to dive into and really try to get a sense of that. But I really hope that with Prime, I really hope it's not a splash in the pan. I really hope it's not like an anomaly. a one-hit wonder. I really hope that it's going to open up more guys to be willing to do these things and go back to these HBCUs and coach and teach, and let them kids at these HBCUs know, like, hey, I came from a school like this, and you look what I did. You have the same opportunity as the rest of those guys at those other Division I colleges. You have the same chance to make your dreams come true. So I'm excited for it.
Interesting. Well said. I can just chime in real quick, Mikkel. I think it's so important what Tristan said. So one of my old co-hosts on my show, Tyrone Poole, an HBCU graduate and a Super Bowl champion with New England Patriots, going back to coach and teach. And it's so important to create those pipelines. And I love what you said, Tristan. And it's so interesting that we're having this conversation because we just had Sam Cunningham on my show, who, if you know sports, what that USC team did when they went in and played Alabama. And after that game, after getting beat so bad, Alabama, Paul Bear Bryant had to say, you know what? It's time to integrate because we ain't going to get beat like that anymore. And what sports does, and I think, look at history and look how so many talented players now won't even consider HBCUs. But that's why it's so important to have a guy like Primetime, I think, go to the schools, like you said, didn't even go to one, but able to go to one and show you, guess what? You can come and play for me. And guess what? The media attention will follow. So you can no longer use that, right? That attention's not going to be there and scouts are going to be there because Dion will attract that. All you have to do is show up on game day, show up and show out, right? Like our coaches.
That's it.
So I think it's very interesting to see. And, if we're talking about HBCUs, also shout out to Juan Dixon. You guys know I have to shout out a fellow Terpist because he just won with Coppin State on the MEAC North Division Championship. But again, talk about a guy who won at Maryland, right? Going back to an HBCU in this area and doing what he's doing for the Coppin State program. It brings attention there. You have to capitalize on that attention. Howard University, right? Getting a top 5 recruit for their basketball program. And so I think that debate, has to just kind of settle and rest because if you're talented, attention will follow. Point blank.
That's right.
HBCUs, we could all probably go on for an hour just naming great talent that came out of HBCUs. So I think you have to look at history and to see it's really about your coaching. I don't care where you go. You want a good quality coach to make it to the next level. All right. I just had a guy from Wagner on my show, and Greg Sanaa plays for the Cowboys. Wagner, all right? He's the first guy from Wagner to even win a Super Bowl. You don't even think about Wagner for football, but saying that to say again, if you're talented, you will find your way on the next level.
I'll find you.
Football league or whatever professional league that is.
Even going back to the last person I can remember in Morgan, Visante Shenko. And that's the last person that I can remember. But it shouldn't be that we have the likes of but it shouldn't have been that long since we've had somebody of that big stature coming from this area, especially the East Coast. And when you talk about down south, that's a whole nother planet. When you're talking about African American talent and what's down there, we switch gears, okay? And this kind of goes into that because we're talking about sports and society, and we haven't had sports and society segment in a long time. Well, yes, we have because of all the social adjustments, but we haven't formally put it on here to name it as a topic of the night. We talk about Primetime and what he can do for HBCUs and where the talent lies and bringing it back to our culture that's bringing it out instead of going to an Alabama and so forth. It's crazy that still in this time, after everything we went through with George Floyd, everything we went through over the summer, the protests and everything else, and everything that athletes have done as far as that plight, what the bubble did, what women in sports are doing. Shout out to the Atlanta Dream. If you don't know what happened, Google it, look it up. I'm not Renee Montgomery. You are a goddess. You're not going what? Well, guess what? I'm gonna buy the team with them. And now I'm your boss. Tell me what? Whatever.
Might come in full
Major flex.
I love
As
it.
if.
Major flex.
Shout out to Clueless. Anyways, it's crazy that after all of that and athletes speaking up, we still have another athlete say this. He is phenomenal in what he's doing, but I don't like when people have some kind of status and they do politics. I play football because I'm the best in playing football. That is the first mistake people do when they football. Excuse me. I'm good at playing football because that's what I do. That is the first mistake people do when they become famous and they come in a certain status. Stay out of it. Just do what you're best at because it doesn't look good. That is Zlatan. Ebriha Mivokic. If I say that correctly. Also on LeBron James. Anyways, Zlatan goes on to clarify comments that he suggested LeBron should stay out of politics, and even him trying to clarify them. It still didn't work because he followed that up with politics divides the world. Sports writes it. Football unites athletes wherever. We do what we do to unite. This was my message. I don't get how that message was this message because that wasn't the message. But anyways, athletes should be athletes and politicians should do politics. I don't know where speaking on a man damn near losing his life and having a police officer step on his neck has anything to do with politics. Just like the flag has nothing to do with kneeling during the national anthem. But you like to make your own assumptions and think you're right. LeBron James followed up those comments saying, of course, he won't shut up. And if in anything that he feels his needs that he's going to speak on, he's going to speak on. He knows the things that are facing his children in his schools. Not to mention, if you're going to talk about the cane, and I got to bring out the cane because you the cane, like Eddie Jr., you the cane. If you want to talk about the cane, just make sure he does his research because there's a little known Swedish guy called Zlatan that was talking about the injustices of Sweden and how it was somewhat racist in a degree because your last name didn't fit in the mold of what Sweden thought should have fit. So if you're going to talk about LeBron James, make sure you talk about him enough where there's nothing in the back of your closet that he can pull out to say about you because you're doing the same thing he did. Kelsey, we still got this type of talk going on, girl. What's going on?
It's tiring, y'all. Like, I'm tired. We keep having this conversation. People still aren't opening their ears. We have one mouth and two ears for a reason. We need to start listening. And I feel like we keep going down this road. So I'm going to educate some people if people don't know. Politicians are elected by the people for the people. They are our voice. They're supposed to do what we ask them to do. There's a lot going on in this country, and there's a lot of voices that unfortunately have been muffled and not listened to, right? We're hoping that change is going to come. You know, when we see our new presidential administration, we've got our first Black woman, our first Indian woman in the vice president spot. LeBron James is an athlete. He's also a human being. He's an athlete for his career, but at the end of the day, he is a Black man in America that votes and pays taxes like everyone else. And I'll tell you this, it amazes me how people don't realize that politics is involved in everything, and sports has influenced politics. And this is not going to be a flex. This is going to be just a real message to everyone. So the reason why when I was at Maryland, I got my degree in broadcast journalism and African-American studies, and I also graduated from Maryland's public policy program. Why? Because I wanted to focus on the way Black athletes are looked at in the media through the lens of politics. Because guess what? They all mesh and go together. And I say this to say LeBron James can say whatever he wants to say. And I've always been an advocate for the 2 Ps, using your platform for a purpose. And the fact that people think that to keep your politics out of sports, well, what about the national anthem that's played at games? That's political. It gets money for it. The Pledge of Allegiance when you're growing up, that's political. So many things are political. Your everyday decisions, what you can and can't do. Wearing a mask, we're outside now. That's a political thing, right? The government passed it down. You have a mask mandate. Now, for some reason, Mississippi and Texas think they don't need it. But again, it's political. I'm going to stay out of that one. But saying all this to say, the fact that people think because LeBron James is very good at dribbling a basketball means that he can't do and shouldn't say anything else is mind-boggling. George Floyd was not the first. So many came, unfortunately, before him. And unfortunately, more will come after him because we're looking and fighting for change in this country. If anything, athletes should be the loudest voices to be in the room. Not just athletes, anybody with a platform. When you see a problem, you have to speak up and speak out about it. That's how change has been created in this country, right? I just watched Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm looking at someone like Fred Hampton, 21 years old, who got killed for speaking up on a platform of change that needs to come in this country. LeBron, please just let the naysayers be naysayers and keep doing you. This man has created a school in his hometown of Akron that is changing lives, feeding babies, feeding our communities, and educating our Black and brown children. Even school is political because guess what? Where you go to school is a whole political thing. You can think about redlining and districting and so many different other things. So the fact that we're still having this conversation, Mikkel, I'm tired. I am sick and tired of repeating myself constantly and consistently on these issues and matters. You cannot tell anyone else to not be political when everything you do is political. From the moment you come out of your mother's womb, you are in a political society. That's just the way life is, right? And it's just that. So I think the fact that anyone thinks they even have the right to tell somebody else what they can and can't say, who are you? You have not lived my life. You do not know my life story. Don't go there. I'm saying this in a nice way. I have so many more thoughts and feelings and feedback. King
Let him out, girl.
take the high road. And, look, LeBron knows this is just naysayers and stuff, but especially do not ever talk to a Black man about what it means to be a Black man in America and what he can and cannot speak out on. I'm so glad you brought up that example, Mikhail, because racism does exist everywhere. Don't act like you're better than or worse than. And sports has the power to change society. Jackie Robinson, what he did for the Color Bear, not only did that for baseball, it helps society. I mean, there's so many different examples, and a lot of politics, a lot of it follows sports. There's a reason why athletes, when they win a championship, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go visit the White House. Well, now we've seen it kind of get even more political, because guess what? I might not agree with that president in the White House. I don't think I want to even get awarded from that president in the White House. But the whole thing about that is because, again, it's political. Sports has helped to change society. That's what the Olympics is based on, right? It's a sport atmosphere, but it's basically a political game to show which country is the best country and can produce the best athletes. So again, I'm sick and tired of having this conversation. I really hope people close their one mouth and start listening with their two ears.
It'll get political when it's time for these Olympics and we take the best athletes over there and beat and kill everybody. Not to mention, people forget how personal it gets, because LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, who's also been very big in speaking up, they have sons and daughters. Guess what? Barack Obama, and guess what? Our vice president's Black. Her Lambo's pink, and she went to an HBCU. Okay.
There you go.
Guess what that does for his daughter? It shows them that they can be whatever they want to be. So it becomes personal in this society. And I don't care whatever you say. Tristan, you'll follow up with me on this. I don't care what you say. Muhammad Ali told them, I'm not fighting in your war. You can strip me of everything, and never knew if he was going to get it back. And look what that man did. So you can't tell. And they were and back then sports figures were looked at of hopes in the African-American community, because they were the ones with the voices that they couldn't have. Because guess what we were doing in the background? Getting beaten by police officers and water hoses. And even those that were nonviolent couldn't save us. Shout out to Martin Luther King Jr. And even with Malcolm X, those people could not save us because you took them away. You took our voices away from us. Tristan, we had a lot to say. I'm pretty sure you'll figure this one out too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what to follow up after y'all two. I wish I had like the soundboard to do the horn, like it was just straight fire that was coming out of both of you guys.
Period.
But
Period.
Exactly. But there you go.
With the T. With the T.
I share the same sentiments, though. I mean, listen, and I'm so disappointed when I saw it, because I actually like Zlatan. I really like how he plays. He's awesome. He's like a freaking mythological figure out there. It's awesome watching him play. So I was highly disappointed when I saw that. And luckily we have someone like LeBron James who can take that. He can handle that and know how to continue to push forward. I really wish people will get to a place where they understand that you can be educated outside of the walls of an institution. Like, I think that's a thing that people really, everyone, even when he started talking about his political views and started looking at that, they were so quick to say, well, he didn't go to college. He came and went straight to the NBA straight out of high school. We don't know what his education was when he was in high school, just testing this man's intelligence. Listen, the man has been in a professional world for about 18 years. You mean to tell me the fact that he was able to create his own production company, create his own sports agency, build an entire school in his hometown, do all these things and not have some kind of education brought to him, whether it was traditional or non-traditional? But the man has to have some kind of aptitude between his ears in order to accomplish what he's accomplished off the court. Like, understand that LeBron James is not just a basketball player. I mean, are we going to say the same thing about the late, great Kobe Bryant? Kobe Bryant spoke 3 languages. Are we going to say he wasn't intelligent because he came straight out of high school and played into the NBA? It's all about what you gain. My daddy tells me all the time, he said, son, there's one thing that no one will ever be able to take from you in this world, and it's your mind. And as long as you have your mind, you can do whatever you want to do in this world. And that I stand by that. You don't assume that you have to go and take these courses. And we commend all those that went to school. You know, Kelsey just did her humble flex of what she's accomplished, and you should flex on that. Don't say like, oh, I don't mean to flex. No, you should flex on that, because for what we have to deal with as Black men, it's like double for Black women. So no, you flex and you show what you got. You show off your credentials and what you've accomplished. But to say like for people to feel like you have to be institutionalized in order to gain knowledge is not the case at all. You have access, especially nowadays. I mean, you can literally have an entire library in your phone, like it's nothing. So don't give me that whole adage of saying like, well, he didn't go to college, he didn't go to Ohio State, he went straight to high school, had a single mother, he had to do this, that. No. You are a product of what you put out. You are a product of what you put out in the world. Everybody has different stories. Everybody's got different situations. Everybody's got different circumstances, but it's all about what you're putting out there. It's all about what you're trying to give. If I want to learn something, I'm going to go ahead and learn it. I'm trying to teach myself Spanish this year. I don't have to go back to school to try to learn Spanish. I'm just studying and learning and practicing with myself every day so that I can learn Spanish and be fluent in Spanish. Like that, those are things that I can take on myself. And for me as a regular person, can you imagine someone like LeBron James that has all the money and has all the resources that he can access to have the knowledge to speak about what he speaks about? And I'm pretty sure he's not going to just to talk out the side of his neck. I'm pretty sure anything he says is already calculated and thought of. Look at how his career is. Like literally the only blemish that we can speak on, if it's even a blemish, is just how he handled the whole I'm going to Miami situation. Like he didn't have to do the whole presser or whatever. That's literally the only negative thing you could put on LeBron. He has calculated his career to a T. So I was so disappointed when I heard that. But again, this is how it is. This is where we are. We have to keep fighting. And like I said, I'm just glad that we got somebody like LeBron that doesn't cower away when people come after him.
Plus, he's not afraid of any endorsement deals you might take of him taking away from him. Because what? I am this league. So do what you want. Yeah. Plus, it's on top of that, it's like, how can you're begging Black athletes to say something? And I was in a clubhouse earlier today, and the conversation was about the indifference between Black quarterbacks and white quarterbacks and political views and all types of stuff. And I was just in there listening. And I'm lying, I was talking to. But I was lying, I was talking to. But anyways, the point of it all that was brought up is you're begging Black athletes to speak. And it's damned if they do, damned if they don't. Look what's happened to Michael Jordan. Looking at how the world is now, we understood why. I hope a lot of people saw The Last Dance and understood why he didn't say nothing back then. I hope they got it. Unfortunate for him, because he was the most polarizing figure in sports and in basketball. But if what it would have done to him, you get it? And we beg at Black athletes to speak, but Tom Brady can have a MAGA hat sitting right in his locker room, and somebody can ask him the question, and he can totally ignore it. And yeah, there's no push for nothing. We can know that you played for a franchise, and Robert Kraft and Donald Trump are friends, and nobody says a thing.
And let's be honest, I mean, sports is able to have that platform because of society. We need a working society in order for sports to work, right? If there's chaos in this country, sports just aren't gonna work. And the fact that, again, you're trying to tell a grown man what he can and can't say is mind-boggling. No one would want to say, hey, Mikkel, you're just a radio host or just a podcast host, so you can only speak about podcasting. And Tristan made such good facts. The platform that we're broadcasting on Facebook, he didn't graduate college, but guess what? We're all using his platform, and he's a very smart man. And like you said, you can get educated in so many ways. And matter of fact, I would challenge everybody out there, you need to get educated in many ways, because it's sad, we just have Black History Month, and for some children, that's the only time they're learning about Black leaders, when we all know that Black people built this country and continue to build this country and continue to make significant contributions. So it's just, again, it's sad, and I hope we can use this as a learning example, because hashtag more than an athlete is so true. Because at the end of the day, when LeBron takes off that Lakers uniform, he is a Black man in America. He's gone through a lot of different things because that, even just because he's LeBron, he still faces different things. There's unfortunately some people in this country, if we want to keep it real, that don't like to see a black man with money, right? And we can go down that road.
Yeah.
But it's sad we keep getting to this place and LeBron has to keep answering for himself. But I'm so glad he's doing it. You talked about Muhammad Ali. Look at the prime years that he lost standing up for what he believes in. One of my favorite quotes is that we die the day we become silent. That's one of my favorite quotes. It's a powerful quote, and I think we should always be speaking up and speaking out.
And that any platform is a platform. You know what made me think of what you just said about using a platform? There's a lot of people that say us as podcasters and, you know, we're just podcasters. When we go out to try to get those big names on our show, we're not a CBS, we're not an NBC. Get your game up. We're here too. But anyways, let's move on more into the NBA. That was very heavy. So let's go back at some playtime a little bit. Kelsey.
Yeah.
We, both of us, and I'm doing this because I'm like over here looking at Tristan. I'm like, okay. But me and him talk about this subject all the time. First of all, I ain't never talked this much about this damn subject in weeks and weeks on weeks for a long time. Even when they sucked, we wasn't talking about them to this level of degree. I don't know what Russell Westbrook did, but he put the Wizards, of course, that John Wall trade as well. But he put the Washington Wizards in the news, if they're losing, and it's really on a Libra scale, and I'm a Libra, so I know the difficulty in keeping a balance, because I'm either up or I'm down, I'm happy or I'm sad, and that's what the Wizards are. They're either winning or they're losing down below and they can't bring it back up again. 7-1 in the last 8 games. They lose to Boston. Bradley, everybody's woo. Me and Tristan are like, blah, blah. We'll see it later on in the season. We'll see when we get there. Y'all can jippity doo-dah all you want. They lose to Boston. Bradley Bill's sitting there. He's disgruntled, frustrated again. I'm sorry. You chose loyalty, didn't you? You better go to that front office of interns and tell them that you need some more than just Russell Westbrook, because look what happened to you last year. You're lucky that you made it to an all-star game this year, Pally, even though you deserve it. But we know how we feel about the Wizards. We know you cover the Wizards. We know that you're a 106.7 The Fed. And we know we see you on Twitter. So we're going to step aside because you've been more optimistic than maybe we shall be. Yeah, then you got the nerve to ship your number 1 draft pick off from an assumption of what he couldn't be. How is Russell Westbrook working out for you? Because the only thing that made sense a week ago before this trade was that he knew the coach on this team. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for neither one of you. But Kelsey, we step aside. I step aside. This is the only time you get me to shut up. Your thoughts about the Washington Wizards and what you've seen so far.
What a time to be in DC. We saw our Washington football team go from 3-13 to the NFC East Division champions. We saw our Washington Wizards being the worst team in the NBA to now being about 3 games out of that 8th spot. Again, what a time to be alive and what a time to be in DC. And I'll be honest with you guys, when the John Wall trade happened, I wasn't shocked just because I knew that video was very damaging, and I know this image that the Washington Wizards is supposed to project, right? And you have a businessman in Ted Leonsis that's trying to make moves with the Washington Wizards. But I was like, Russell Westbrook, like, he's good, very good, but we haven't seen that like good Russell Westbrook in Houston. So how is it going to work here in DC? And let's be honest, in DC, we won a championship. I want to know what it was like in the Bullets days, right? That was before my time. But I'll tell you, the way the Wizards are playing, this is what Kelsey did. She went back to her parents' house. She went in the basement and got her Wizards starter jacket because I was proud to rock it, because that's right now how the Washington Wizards are playing. They're making me proud. Bradley Beal, he's been asking for a long time to be a leader, right? But he's been that Robin on the team with John Wall, right? John Wall was that Batman and the guy that everyone was looking at. Lo and behold, John Wall gets shipped out. Russell Westbrook comes and we're having some problems at first, right? The shoes not fitting, stuff isn't meshing. We're looking at Scott Brooks like, look, something's got to change. Is Scott Brooks still going to be here? You know, we're disgruntled, right? In Washington. We're just like, we're done with the Wizards, like cutting out the TVs. I don't even want to watch them. And lo and behold, we see this West Coast trip. I remember watching that Lakers game and just wow. That Wizards team. I remember watching those Nets games. Wow, that Wizards team. And when they match Mikal, they match. And again, Bradley Beal, I mean, we can talk about his stats. He's doing some crazy numbers. I mean, he's in the company with MJ on some of his stats. We talked about MJ on this show. Bradley Beal's a shooter. When Bradley Beal shoots, it's usually going in, right? I mean, guys are doubling and they're trying to do everything they can to stop him. But this Wizards team, you bring in Denny, right? You have a young team. You have a lot of guys that if you're not a basketball fan, I don't even know if you can name the Washington Wizards team and their bench. But they're finding a way to make it work. We see DB, right, Davis Bertans. We see him kind of struggle and start to slump and finally starting to heat up a bit and getting to this Wizards team that's starting to win. And the great thing about it, you all, is the East is open. I mean, that's how crazy the East has
open as the Red Sea.
Now we're talking about a Wizards team that can possibly do something when at the beginning of the season, we're just like, we just win a couple games, right? We thought we were just going to ship it out and be that worst team in the NBA. And I'll tell you, finally, things are clicking, and the Russell Westbrook experiment now is starting to work, right? At first, we were throwing food in the fire, and the fire exploded back in our faces. Like, woo, I don't know if I want that. But now we're looking at it, and it's starting to simmer, right? The ingredients are starting to come together, and it's starting to taste good. And so I think now, finally, again, you're going to go look for your Wizard stuff because you know that the Wizards can possibly do something. If they keep playing like this again, we know it's on championship year, but the Wizards, at least if we can get them into the playoffs, which again, the East is open. I'm looking at the 8th spot. The Charlotte Hornets are right there. The Wizards are doing something. So I'll tell you, I mean, I'm just glad it's kind of starting to work because I was looking at Scott Brooks like, look, something's got to give. Something's got to change. We tried Russell Westbrook. Was this a mistake? And now I just feel like finally, all right, this is what y'all said would work. Because I was a person that was like, no, we need John Wall. I was excited about him coming back from his injuries. We saw those workout videos. Like John Wall was just that guy, right? John Wall makes plays. Him and Bradley work, whatever people want to say. But finally, the Russell Westbrook experiment is working. And we're smiling. We are smiling in DC. So I'm excited to see, Mikkel, where things go. Again, I'm not gung-ho, but I'm just saying right now, and with the games that they just had, if they keep playing like that, with that high intensity level, you cannot write the Washington Wizards out.
1, you said experiment. 2, you're like a Hallmark card that you're giving me with a sunflower that I'm just waiting for you to squeeze it and the water pops out in my face when you're talking about the Washington Wizards. But the little glimmer of hope that you give, as beautiful and bright as you are, I guess we'll take it,
I'm just saying, Mikkel, they did a 360 again when this season started. I mean,
they better than they was before.
It was
they was slipping a whole bunch of banana peels on that court.
At one point, I thought they were going to recruit us. I mean, they just needed anything to make it work. They just needed some type of spark. But finally,
you get a jersey. You get a jersey.
Team, right? Look, I was putting out my closet. Like, look, just put Nelson on the back and we good. Like, I can do something. I can distribute the ball. But finally, things are starting to click and work. And I think if they can keep this pace again, the East is very interesting this year. So I'm just glad the Wizards are finally on the bright side, and they need to just keep this up. But again, I will say Bradley Beal needs help. He cannot do it alone. He's doing a lot. So Russell Westbrook is going to have to continue to show up to make this work.
He needs to go to that front office because he was scoring 50 last year, and look what they were doing. Just, Tristan, can I move on? Because you don't have anything to add to this, do you?
I just, Kelsey just brings this ray of sunshine to the whole thing. It was like, I was sitting here just like.
You don't want to mess up the moment, but you don't believe it, right?
Right. It was just like, I was just, like, listen.
Yes, Tristan, I want it to last. It's like right now things are going good. They might get ugly later. But, again, if you make this a dating reference, right now we're in the honeymoon phase. Things are going good. We'll worry about the arguments and stuff later. I'm just enjoying.
So I'm not going to
schedule programming.
So because like she said, this is the honeymoon phase. I'm not going to be that bitter girlfriend that's like, girl, I don't know how long this is gonna last, girl. You gotta look at the red flags. Listen, with the Wizards, real quick, with the Wizards, it's not even the team per se, because I totally understand East is wide open. I mean, we were once talking about, Brad Stevens being like the next pop coaching genius. Now we're looking like he might get fired after the season, the way the Celtics have been looking. Get all that. Brooklyn, once they get themselves all healthy and together, I mean, I just don't see anybody topping that. Don't know what's going on over there in Milwaukee. Toronto's doing. I don't even want to speak on the. Don't let me speak on Giannis right now. I'm just really upset about him. But we don't know what's going on over there in Toronto. Charlotte, it's entertaining to watch at least, but we know that's not going to go anywhere.
Let me stop you there. Don't go through this. I got one more team I got to talk about before we go through all this mid-season somethings.
Okay, I won't go through all this, but I got you.
Because we're over here. Well, Kelsey's over here happy that the Wizards are almost in the 8th seed. But there's a team up north. They just let their fans in the biggest sports mecca in not just the world, but in the United States. Madison Square Garden is jumping, baby, because guess what? The New York Knickerbockers, the Knicks, are 18-17. And with that, they're not fighting for 8th. They're the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. Their best start since 2012, 2013. We know when the last time that happened, it was Melo, the big blockbuster trade. They had an anniversary on that trade. The anniversary of that trade, you had Amari Stoudemire. Guys of that nature were wearing a Knicks uniform. Someone said in the comments on the Bleacher Report on Instagram that not even James Dolan can mess this up. I hope they're right. But anyways, it's easy to talk about the other team that's on the other side of New York and Brooklyn. We know the star power that's over there. But first, how great is it to see the Knicks competitive and contention, moving up the ranks? Madison Square Garden is buzzing again. And if you guys want to play this whole King of New York's thing, the last time the Nets played the Knicks, they lost 116-109. That was the last meeting. They will meet again, not too far from today's date. They will meet again 8 p.m. on March 15th. Woohoo, prime time.
Well, listen, so for the Knicks, I didn't even, first of all, no one really pays attention to the Knicks. So I didn't pay attention at the time to the Knicks. And someone told me their record, and I was like, wait, they got a winning record?
Wait, no way, guys.
Yeah, like, they won how many games? Like, I was shocked, and I'm really happy for the Knicks. One, because I really like Obi Toppin. I'm a big fan of Obi. I thought that was a great pickup for them in the draft. I didn't think he was going to fall that far. Like, I'm a big fan of him. As he keeps developing, it's going to be crazy. Them acquiring Derrick Rose, bringing Derrick Rose back to the Garden was awesome. He brings the veteran leadership, and the man still got skills. I mean, when I watch him play now, I'm just like, oh my God, if it wasn't for the injuries, what would you have looked like? It's amazing. So it's just, I'm excited for them, definitely. And we touched on this before, Miguel. I believe that every sports entity has to have certain teams be successful for the entire brand to be successful. And for the NBA, it is the Knicks. When the Knicks aren't relevant, the NBA is not as buzzworthy as it really could be. Like, yeah, we celebrate these other teams and stuff, but when you have a team that's like historic, like the Knicks, and they're just not relevant, it really does bring a little bit of a damper to the league as a whole. It's the same thing I say about the Raiders. Like, you can't have the Raiders just be perpetually bad the way the Raiders were back in the day. Like, that's just a hard pill to swallow. So for the Knicks to be relevant, to have this conversation is awesome for the league. It makes the Garden have that kind of mystique again a little bit, or at least gain it back somewhat, for people that comes into the Garden to play the Knicks. And I'm hoping Chicago gets back into their relevancy. I mean, you can't have a player that was the GOAT, that you call the GOAT, and that team is still perpetually bad. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, certain teams have to at least be in the conversation. So I'm very happy for the Knicks. Very happy for what they're doing. It seems like Dolan is staying out of the way, which is what we've been asking for. Stay out of the way. Just sign the check. Don't do nothing. Sign the check. Right, exactly. Sign the check. Don't do anything else. Sign the check. So let's see how it keeps, how this keeps developing and how this keeps going. But as far as the king of New York, it's the Nets. Like you got KD, Kyrie, James Harden. It's the Nets.
Yeah.
That's not even.
Think about when it really starts to work with them and they really start to mesh, and when KD, like, it's going to be something so special. But you don't have to follow up from Tristan, right? I mean, the Knicks, we've been waiting for a while. Like, I had to start watching Knicks games. I was like, wait, the Knicks are doing what? So, I have to change my television channel. And I'm going to tell you guys what I did. So I love to collect NBA gear, right? I don't care the team. I just love to rock NBA gear. And so I'll tell you, the only time I would buy Knicks gear and I would get it because it would be on sale. Go to Ross, it's half price. Everything's like,
I'm not Ross.
I went to Ross and I paid full price for my Knicks nugget. I should have worn it on the show. And why did I do it? Because the Knicks are over 500. And Mikkel, you talked about the place they're in the East. It feels good. Like, it feels really good to be talking about the Knicks winning. And, Tristan touched on there's so many great pieces. And, you're looking at, Randall and Barrett. And, I mean, they're making it work. They are making it work. And to be fair, the Knicks are making it work with players, that aren't even, I would say, all the way up top, right? Like your superstars, like we're talking about with Brooklyn. And so I think, again, this is why the NBA is fun. And it's really been fun to cover, we're talking about defense with the Knicks too. We're talking about defense with the New York Knicks. Like, again, just what a time to be.
What a time.
Knicks are back relevant. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall and it just feels good. I'm happy for Knicks fans. I know you guys saw that video of Knicks fans celebrating. I've been mad at everyone celebrating without a mask. That was the one time I said, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to let them have this moment because y'all deserve this moment. So that's the one time I'm going to forgive you guys for not wearing a mask. But they've been waiting for a long time. Talk about a franchise that's really been waiting to not only just be relevant, but for another championship. Go ahead, Tristan, because I know this is
you gotta, like, real quick, Mikkel, like, I want people to understand how much this means to me as a sports fan, that the Knicks are relevant. When Zion got drafted, when they did the ping pong ball, and it wasn't the Knicks with the number 1 pick, like, I was upset as if I was a Knicks fan. Because I'm like, why would the basketball gods not give the Knicks Zion? Like, why would we do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was upset for them. Like, I'll never forget the look of Patrick Ewing's face when the ball didn't come out for, like, it was that devastation when the ball came out for, I think it was like the 3rd pick, and you just see, like, and he had to kind of play it off like, oh, okay, cool. But it was like, everyone and their mama thought that the Knicks were getting that 1st pick, and it was so heartbreaking. It was just like, the Knicks can't have anything. So for them to be relevant right now is truly awesome. I'm very happy.
Shout out to New York. Like, I feel like they deserve this moment. Nerlens Noel. I mean, just again, the pieces are working. Tom, everything's finally working with the New York Knicks. Again, Mikkel, you talked about the Knicks being in contention in the East.
It's talking about the Knicks.
Young. I was
right.
Like, it's been a while, so I'm gonna let
they are on my rundown. The Knicks.
Right. We don't talk about the Knicks. Like,
and I get pissed off every year. Whoever thinks that they should be on a Christmas game, why are you putting the Knicks on Christmas? I might actually want to see them if they still doing well. I actually might want to see them on Christmas. Spike might get his chair back. Hell, we ain't seeing Charles Oakley anymore, because that was the only thing we've been talking about the last couple of years of how dare James Dolan and that organization do what they did to Charles Oakley. You don't let that man come in Madison Square Garden. I don't care how irate he gets and crazy he gets. It's Charles Oakley.
Right.
Shut up. But we're talking about the Knicks here. Assessment time. MVP at this point of year. Is it coming straight out the West? Is LeBron in the game fully taking it? What do we make of the Nets? They're saying Nets and Lakers, that the Nets is going to run away with it. Your MVP, your most improved. Where are you at this mid-season as we go? Because we're about to talk about the All-Star break as we're going into the All-Star break. Where are you guys at?
Go ahead, Kelsey.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. It's funny you mentioned LeBron James. I mean, let's be honest. LeBron is someone you can always put in this conversation because he is LeBron James. He is the king. But I will say it's been fun this year talking about Joel Embiid, right, in the 76ers. And I know people are talking about him for the MVP race. And then Luka Doncic and just what he does. young and continues to produce. Again, this is why it's been exciting to cover, honestly, the NBA and what we've seen, especially in this year, honestly, that we didn't know what to expect, after COVID. And you hate, what happened to AD, right?
Yeah.
And you think about that injury because you think about where that could have been. But
yeah.
I like Luka a lot. I like Joel a lot. I feel like I'm neck and neck, Tristan. I'm so curious to hear where you go with it. Again, I know the LeBron King fans in the stands are saying, Kelsey, what about LeBron James? Like, LeBron James is LeBron James. I actually am interested too, what you talk about Giannis, because I think you guys probably watched that games too, but that Bucks Clippers game that just happened.
First of all, Kelsey.
Is Tristan about to really go on?
I'm watching this game, right?
Okay.
We talk about how we ain't talked about the Knicks in a long time. Yes, I said ain't. I know this is a journalistic show, but I felt this is my family. I could say that. But anyways, we talk about how we not talking about the Knicks. When the hell have we talked about the Clippers at the beginning of this year? When the last time I was watching that game and I was like, damn, when the last time I spoke about the Clippers? And I'm shouting somebody we know very well out. I hope
very well.
Watching. I hope she's watching because I'm getting you. I hope you're watching. Hey, yo, Ashley, Miss Baker, playoff P.
Wait, what did Ashley say? Y'all gotta say what Ashley say. She's still on.
Well, listen, Ashley has been petitioning that Paul George was going to win the MVP.
And I'm just like, my best Ashley impression. Let me tell y'all this. He coming back with a vengeance. Paul George will get MVP. He will get in the playoffs.
Not with him missing all them shots the other night. Not with him doing that.
I hope you have your people call my people, Ashley. I hope you find me. I'm waiting for you. I hope you watching. I love you.
Where do you bring Paul George, Tristan, in the MVP race right now? I'm so curious to hear your thoughts.
Pandemic P? Pandemic P? Where? Listen, I don't know what it is with her and Paul George, but she is loyal. Listen, that's loyalty, okay? That is loyalty right there. Maybe it's the Braves. I don't know. But that's loyalty right there. I'll tell you, because Paul George, I don't have, and this is the thing. I think, and she's not the only one, that's just our girl. So we mentioned her, but she's not the only one that's coming to me about this whole Paul George thing. The thing about Paul George, it's not that I dislike him. It's that he is another version. He's having the Dwight Howard complex. You were a big fish in a small pond when you were with the Pacers. That's what you were, a big fish in a small pond. And then when the lights were put on you and it was your time to be the guy, you choked. And that's just my thing for Paul George. I'm always going to feel like that. I tell Ashley likes to get on me when he has a great game. She will send me his box score and everything. I tell her all the time, I don't care. I don't care until the playoffs start. I don't care what he can drop 100. I don't care. I don't care until the playoffs come. I have no care for what he does in the regular season until the playoffs come. Now, in regards to the MVP, everybody knows that Mikkel and I are diehard Lakers fans. Everybody knows this is very much clear.
Where do I?
No, don't start. You know.
I know what I know in my heart, right? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shaq and Kobe, baby.
Shout out to Shaq and Kobe. But the thing about even though I was hurt with AD getting injured, I looked at it like, okay, LeBron, this is your moment to put a clamp on that MVP this season and let everyone just stand behind and watch you in awe. Because I felt like he should have won the MVP last year. I didn't feel Giannis should have gotten the MVP. I thought that was crazy to me. I thought LeBron should have got it for what they did in the bubble, for what he did to get the Lakers a championship after everything that happened last year. I thought clear should have been MVP LeBron James. Now, what has happened was that they have in the 7-game stretch that they've played without AD, they went 3-4, and LeBron in those games has looked kind of mortal, as we would say. Like for a regular player, if you're getting 19 to 21, 8 and 7. That's a pretty decent box score. For LeBron, that's an off night. He's now down to 69% at the free throw line. Can't have that. That's not good. So I feel like it was like clear and above LeBron, but I feel like because he's had this kind of rough stretch by his standard, he's kind of fallen back into the pack, but no one has come up to surpass him. Now, the closest person I would think it would be Joel Embiid. I think this is the best Joel Embiid has ever looked. I think he's in fantastic shape. Yep. He is not goofing around. Like this is the Joel Embiid that everyone kept fighting him about. Like this is what we expected to see. Yeah. The last game he had, when he had to do down in the post and then he switched up with a step back and a fake, I was like, wait a minute, you a big man. What you doing, brother? It's so crazy. So if I'm still going to go with LeBron, just me kind of being a Laker homer, but also believing that he could turn it on and just be ready to rock. And I don't see anyone else really competing with that. But if it's not LeBron, definitely I'm going to go with Joel Embiid for sure.
What about Nikola Jokic? Not at all?
No, because he's like a model of consistency, and I'm cool with that. But he hasn't done anything that's like a wow, like, whoa, like, bruh, you're crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just haven't seen that kind of play from him. Where you look at Embiid, like when he had that 50 burger the other day, it was just like, wow, like you were clearly the dominant player on the court. You know what I'm saying? So those things, I look for those things as far as for the MVP, because for whatever reason, they don't want to extend the MVP into the playoffs. I feel like that's where you really know who's your MVP, but that's me. Now,
no
as far
sleeper teams? Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me just say this real quick about Giannis.
Yes. You put your head down. Oh my God.
I know, like, Tristan, where are we going, Tristan?
Because at some point, we have to make a decision about Giannis. We, a couple years ago, we were prepared to dub Giannis as the best player in basketball. You can't be the best player in basketball if you don't have a jump shot. You can't. You just can't. You can't be the best player in basketball if you cannot shoot even a little bit. There's a reason why we can't dub Ben Simmons as baby LeBron, because he can't shoot. He won't shoot. You realize when he shot a three-pointer the other night, that was his 4th made three-pointer in his career, not season, not game. Career for Ben Simmons. It's like a real psychological thing for him to not shoot threes. I don't understand. But so with Giannis, we keep hearing, well, he's working it out in the offseason. He's training. He's doing it. We saw the video clips of him, open gym. He's going in rotation, chucking them up. Nothing has changed. Nothing has happened. It's still the same Giannis, and the league has now caught up to what you can do. Yeah, he can still get you 35 just off of sheer strength and what he, his ability to drive to the basket. But when you run into a team that makes up in his mind, yeah, we're not letting you get through here, bro. What are you going to do then? And your supporting cast is not enough to hide his deficiencies. So I want us to stop putting Giannis on this pedestal. I want us to stop doing that. I stopped doing that a couple years ago. I was like, okay, if you're not going to continue to develop, I can't place you amongst the greats that I look at in the NBA today. You're really, really, really good, but I'm not going to call you great because your skills are limited. And now people are figuring out what to do to stop you. So that's how I feel about Giannis. Like him as a person, I just feel like he's very limited in his game. And I feel like we've put him on this pedestal because he's so big, he's so strong, he's so long. I get it. He looks like a freaking action figure. I get it. But you can't shoot. What am I supposed to do with you if they crowd the paint? If they crowd the paint, what am I to do with you? You are now a liability for me because you can't shoot. If they foul you, you can't shoot on the free throw line. So what am I supposed to do with you here? And that's how I feel about it. So this whole Giannis MVP, no, that's over. Okay, he got his 2. I really feel LeBron should have got it, but it's fine. He got his 2. Let's call it a day. Look, can you get past the second round? Can you do that for me? Can you get to the Eastern Conference? Can you do that for me? Can you get past the Eastern Conference? Can you do that for me? Can you give me a final? Can you do that for me? Until then, I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear Giannis is the greatest Milwaukee Buck. Until you win a title, that belongs to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Until you bring a title to Milwaukee, that belongs to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I don't want to hear any of this with Giannis. He's got a lot of work to do.
I'm so happy, but
Dude, that's even before Ray Allen. What the hell?
What'd you say, Mikal?
Exactly.
Ray Allen.
Okay.
Wait a minute. We gonna forget about Jesus over here?
You can't.
No,
You were
can't
wearing
forget about
Bucks
Jesus, right.
uniforms because of Ray.
That's right.
And it's crazy. And Kelsey, you can finish your point. I just want to say one thing. I want to say one thing and ask you a question to go with your point you're about to make. So I'm gonna give you some homework. It's crazy that you bring up Dwight Howardism in talking about Paul George, because the first person that comes to mind when I talk about Paul George is what we thought LaMarcus Aldridge was going to be when he went to San Antonio. And that didn't work out. That didn't pan out. He couldn't be the next superstar next to. It just did not work. And then if we're talking about Giannis, we're in a league now where if you're a big man that can't shoot, this is crazy. If you're a big man that can't shoot, you're a problem. Whereas even if Shaq, we knew what Shaq was going to do every night, but at least we knew the field goal percentage was going to be big. So so us behind going to be put on the line to make 1 out of 2. That I was shaking with the palm of my hands and sweating, hoping he made 1 out of 2. If he made 2, it was a hell of a night. But anyway, it's so crazy, the evolution of the big man. Kelsey, your point, and I'm adding to this.
All right.
After the All-Star break, who are you seeing making a huge run? You guys talking about a lot of teams. What's up with Portland? Everything that's going on in the West. Can the Knicks do something? Will we see the Wizards? Will we see Boston? What do we make of them? And what are doing this? And what the heck is going on?
That's a good one.
Yeah, get off the track. What team you see making a run and at least making it interesting? Phoenix. Woo.
I love that you're touching on all that. And the point I was going to make before, I was so happy that Tristan talked about Giannis. And so on my show a couple weeks ago, I had Junior Bridgman on. If we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, you got to talk about Junior Bridgman. And of course, talking about someone who was able to come off the bench and have a solid shot. And we're talking about the evolution of his shot, right? And obviously covering the Wizards here. And I remember covering a young John Wall. And John Wall, for a while, his game was in the paint. Right. John Wall had to develop his shot. Right. That was the one blip people could have on John Wall. Then he had to develop that 3 ball. But luckily, he was playing with a guy named Bradley Beal. Right. So that helped him. Look at Giannis. His game is largely in the paint. He's going to have to continue to evolve the game because, Mikal, you hit it on the head now. You got to be a big man that can do multiple things in the NBA. This is why I'm not writing the book yet on Zion. I like Zion a lot, but I still want to continue to see his growth and his development. Because, again, this is a grown man's league. It's grown man's basketball, and that's what makes the greats great. That's what makes LeBron, right? Because he's able to do all of these different things at his size. And so I think Giannis is going to be very, very interesting. I mean, luckily he has the help of Chris Middleton, but I like Giannis. Just I'm not sold out on him like you are. I like Giannis. I think his game will continue to develop. I think he's hungry. He's still young. And I'm excited to see what he'll do, but I think he's going to have to improve that game if he really wants to get to that next level. Because it's great being a great player, but we want the Bucks to do something. Look, I was written on the Bucks last year, and obviously they got exposed. I'm not going to make that mistake again this season, but, I'm excited to see what happens with Giannis. And I'm so happy, Mikal, that you touched on Portland and what Portland can do. Because I think somebody we haven't talked about, at least on the show, at least, and tell me if I'm wrong, we haven't talked about Dame Lillard, right?
We talked about some Dame. Damn well in any conversation that has me in it, we're gonna talk about Dame time. We're gonna talk about some Carmelo Anthony, baby.
That's right. The Carmelo Anthony queen, so I love to hear that.
He is.
But I'm excited after the All-Star break. We're talking about the East. I want to see what teams in the East can really do something and make noise. I and a team that we're not talking about enough, and they're actually leading the West, is the Utah Jazz, right? And again, we have to talk about the Utah Jazz, and I get it when everyone's going to say, Kelsey, they're in Utah. Come on, what happens in Utah? Well, the Jazz are happening in Utah. I think, of course, especially with the Lakers, you got to look back when they get a healthy AD. I like that you're talking about the Clippers and seeing if they can match. Ashley, if you're out there, we're going to see if Paul George can continue.
She's even calling Ashley out now.
The Celtics though, because I think before the season began, we thought the Celtics would still be a solid team, right?
Yes.
Yes. Where the Celtics are right now, and we're asking questions about like, wow, the Celtics are 17-17 right now, right? So sitting right at that 500 level, we just saw that game to St. Louis guys, right? Bradley Beal and Jason Tatum, and luckily the Celtics pulled that out. But think about how close that was for the Washington Wizards. I have a lot of questions about the Celtics. Not sold on them. I think the Heat were a big surprise, but I'm actually excited. We're talking about the Knicks on this show. I want to see what the Knicks can continue to do. Are they just a fairy tale? Is this just a high that we're living on? Or will it succeed? Will it be long term? Is there something that we can continue to talk about, Mikal? So after this All-Star break, I am super, super, super excited. And if we're talking about the All-Star break, I got to shout out Bradley Beal for getting that starting spot for the All-Star. You got to give Bradley
About time. I gotta ask you this. You talk about Boston, and Boston's had a couple of shifty 3 or 4 years. They went from a team that they should feel horrible for what they did to Isaiah Thomas. I will never forget that. That man gave you the most godly performance with the weight of the world on his shoulder and losing his sister, and then you trade him for what you think you're getting. The Washington Wizards must have watched that crap because we're getting the same guy. No, you're not. You traded for Kyrie Irving. The earth was flat, all this extra mess, and he wasn't the leader. Now, we knew you wasn't. You talk about LeBron James like he was a dog, but you got a ring up off of him, didn't you? Look what you've done since then. And now we're trying to see if you can get to that in Nets land. And then you finally come out and say that it was your fault after all this time of you saying that you didn't get that. After all this time, we didn't hear you say that you didn't give Boston your best when it came to leadership. You let them down. These guys were playing better without him. Then they come back with the same core, the same guy. Jason Tatum elevates his game, and these young guys it's one night on, one night off. Is Brad Stevens the coach in Boston? Is it time to relocate?
That's $1 million question. Tristan, you're shaking your head. I'll let you go first because you're shaking your head, but I think it's telling, honestly, writing on the wall.
I do. But you know what's crazy? I think before Brad Stevens go, I think Jaylen Brown will be out. I really do. I don't know if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can coincide. I think when they came in and when they were young, when they were rookies and they came in, I think because they were trying to figure out what their game was or what it was going to be in the NBA, they yielded more to this team basketball and moving the ball around and you just get your shots where you can. But now Jason Tatum has elevated his game in such a way where you can't take the ball. You really can't afford to take the ball out of Jason Tatum's hand. Like, yeah, we understand that Kemba facilitates the offense, but Tatum is the one that makes this thing go. And you can't have the ball out of his hands for a long period of time. Well, unfortunately, when you do take the ball out of his hands because you want Jaylen Brown to get going. I don't know if that can go. You're basically got two wing players that really don't mesh well together as their game keeps elevating. And like I said, we were looking at Brad Stevens as the young genius, but now it's like, and quite honestly, he might be the first one to go, but I think it's ultimately going to come down to you're going to have to choose between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to stay. And I know for sure they're not letting go of Jason Tatum. So it's going to be Jaylen Brown that's going to be on the outs. I really do think so. And looking at the games, especially when I forgot what game he had sometime last week, and someone made a comment I wish I had wrote it down. Someone made a comment to Jaylen Brown just about how the offensive flow was going. And Jaylen Brown said no comment. And I was really telling for him to say, well, I have no comment on that. Because you basically threw Brad Stevens under the bus by saying no comment, by not saying anything. So I really think Jaylen's going to be out of here. I think they're going to find a way. if not this season, maybe sometime in the off season, to trade Jaylen Brown somewhere out of Boston for sure. And it's such a sad thing to see because we were looking at the Celtics almost how we had looked at OKC when they had KD, Russell, and James Harden on the squad. Like, we were like, this was going to be a dynastic team coming down, you know, and now it's just the Kyrie effect. Telling people, I was like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But, you know, no one listened to me. They're like, oh, Kyrie's better than Isaiah Thomas. He's like 10 times better. Yeah, I didn't say he was worse. He's a great player. He's a great soloist. I think if the Street Ball mixtape was still popping, he'd be perfect, you know. But as far as like team-based basketball, no. Like, Kyrie still is not proven that he can facilitate a team. I think it's perfect that James Harden is the point guard for the Nets and not Kyrie. I think that's perfect because at least with the scoring prowess that James Harden had, I know how you feel about James Harden. I get it. But the scoring prowess that she feels about him the way I feel about Paul George when it comes to the playoffs. That's basically what it is.
But we're gonna actually get him this year because he don't have to worry about being that guy. Oh, he's gonna make them shots, baby. He's gonna be clutch, and I'm gonna be sitting there like 7 years in Houston. Reggie Miller. You're right. He gonna take him now because he don't have the pressure.
I want to go to this point really quick. That I'm severely worried about is the Houston Rockets. I mean, so many storylines coming out of Houston, and we're talking about long term and what the team needs to do. I mean, it's
I agree.
Problems, right? You wave Boogie, you see the stuff going on, Victor Oladipo turning down the extension. You know, I mean, talk about Houston, we had a problem with the Texans. Houston, we have a problem with the Rockets. I don't know, something's going on.
Poor John Wall.
What's so crazy? What's so crazy when the trade went down? I was like, oh, the Houston Rockets, they won in this trade. This is awesome. You got a good team. Everybody's still relatively young. You could build this team up, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what's happening. Like everybody, it's like no one wants to stay. I'm like, wow. Speaking of which, let's get Boogie. Get Boogie Cousins. Come on.
Home, baby.
Bring him home.
All right, guys. Let's finish this off. Eastern Conference All-Stars. Kevin Durant, we know he will not be there. Giannis, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum. He will replace KD. Reserves, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Nikola Vucevic, DeMonte Sabonis. He's also going to be in the place of KD and River, you know.
Why do you say
Anyways, Western, because this has been like flipping a card, these damn reserves. Anyways, Western Conference, LeBron James, Steph Curry. Welcome back, Steph Curry. Luka, Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Devin. This would have been a snub, but Devin Booker is there now. Paul George, he made it. Zion Williamson, Rudy Gobert. It's crazy to think everything COVID in the NBA started with Rudy Gobert. I wonder how they feel about this guy. Every time he touches them, are you sick? Because he will forever have that stigma for me because Rudy Gobert got it. Mitchell Donovan, I know he's looking at him funny. And we were gone from March. Anyways, Donovan Mitchell and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Snubs. Devin Booker's not a part of that anymore. But Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, he didn't get in, baby. DeMar DeRozan, he's like the Susan Lucci of all-star breaks. He will never get he can't get in one. I don't understand. Anyways, Trae Young and Mike Conley. I'll leave it there. You know I'm right.
I just can't believe you said it. That's all I'm looking at. Wow. I mean, it's the story of his career, really. I mean, when you really think about DeMar DeRozan or DeMar, that's poor thing. But it really is the story of his career. It was like, oh man, you got all. It's like all the talent, but it's just like you're just missing something. You're missing the thing, the it.
He's like Cedric the Entertainer when he said that the curl never really on Luther because he not Luther.
Exactly. And what's so like think about it. You were the only piece that was traded, and the team won the championship the next year. Like that is Nothing changed except for 2 players.
Yeah.
And a championship came about. Like, that's wild. Yeah, I feel bad for him. In regards to the All-Star, the only true gripe I have with the All-Star line is that it shouldn't have taken AD to get hurt for Devin Booker to be in.
Right.
That's the only thing I have.
That's just disrespectful. That's just disrespectful, man. Like, come on. Have y'all not paid attention to what Devin Booker has done?
Yeah.
They say,
like, not
they
even
say
just
it's no
this year.
politics in sports, but LeBron James advocated his ass off.
He sure did. And but it shouldn't have taken that. Like, I think people, and it's because he plays in Phoenix. I get it. But man, since he stepped foot in the NBA, he's been killing. Like, this is the guy that has the 3rd highest single game scoring record. Like, come on, the man cranked 70, like, and was killing it. I thought with Chris Paul going over there, like, I thought it would have given more attention to Phoenix, but it was like, it still put Phoenix. I don't know why it still put Phoenix in this like realm of like the unknown. I don't understand. And they got a great young squad with Chris Paul, the ultimate team leader, team builder over there. Like, look what he did for OKC. They played above themselves last season. So you can imagine with Phoenix, who I feel is a better talent overall than OKC. Imagine what's going to happen with them over there. You talk about a sleeper team or a surprise team. I'm looking forward to see what Phoenix does down the stretch.
And can we give Devin credit for not being impacted by the Kardashian Jenner curse? Like, it didn't touch him. He's still fine. So we have
that alone.
He's still
in the Naismith
involved.
Hall of Fame.
Wait
That
till the
alone
breakup, baby.
It alone puts him in the Hall of Fame. The fact that he survived
Wait till the breakup.
the Kardashian curse. Don't jinx the brother. I got faith in him, okay? We've seen a long line of Kardashian destruction. And I'm telling you,
I'm just saying.
Listen, I just pray that he can come out of this.
But he's messing with a Jenner, not a Kardashian. It's 2 different families. You feel me? It's the same families, but 2 different families. The Jenners are different. You feel me?
It's the same bad juju. It doesn't make no difference. Same bad juju goes all the way around. But Devin, I believe in you. I know you can come out of this. You can come out of this on top.
And I'll say for Devin, I feel like he gets disrespected early in his career, much like, I'm gonna bring it back to Washington, like Bradley Beal did. You talk about playing in Phoenix. Well, Bradley Beal didn't get any respect playing in DC. And it's mind-boggling. Because you think about cities that can attract attention, even though DC is the nation's capital, we had a hard time attracting good quality talent here in DC. Because people are like, who wants to play with DC, right? Like, I feel like we haven't been cool since like the Gilbert Arenas era, right?
It's KD's fault.
Right? Look, KD don't even want to come home, even though
but it's his fault.
I mean, KD's like I'll just come do my charity work and then I'm out of DC. And he's right up the road from us. We can't even get a second look. He's not even.
KD, yes, KD gave the kiss of death when he said, I didn't even take the interview. And let the whole league know, okay, well, DC must not be the spot if he don't want to go home.
I mean, the last person that we had that added value, that a star, but he was on his way out, was Paul Pierce. Yes. And I don't think that people gave Bradley Beal, and I've always been saying this, I don't think people gave Bradley Beal that just due, even though he deserved it as even being a wingman, because they thought it was John Wall's team. Mm-hmm. So, and now it's like, well, he's gone. Here you go. Do what you gotta do.
Paul Pierce, we were a foot on the line for that Wizards team to seeing what might have happened.
The same freaking side. Even though I hate it. I hated cheering for Paul Pierce because your whole Willis Reed impression. We're not gonna talk about that. But
he still deserves an Oscar.
He wasn't hurt. But I was with you on that one. He was going to Capitals games. You would have thought they gave him some mumble songs. But anyway, I closed the book. This show's over. Kelsey. Whoo, girl.
This was fun.
Stuck in with us. I hope you enjoyed the time. Hope you're having people call your people and come back. We got to return the favor whenever you need us. We're right there.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. I appreciate it so much. always love joining DMV talent. You guys know I'm biased. I'm homegrown, but look, this was so much fun, Mikkel. Keep doing what you're doing. Tristan, keep being a rock star and an all-star, and keep supporting and lifting up and amplifying the voices of Black women, Tristan. That means so much.
Every day I tell them that. But with your people from being from Jackson, I'm gonna need some of that Jackson mac and cheese whenever you.
Let me tell you.
Facts.
Look, everything.
What did you know?
Currently in Jackson, I'm just telling you, I lose weight before I go down there just so I can gain some pounds. Cause look, real food down there. Dion's eating good. So I'm just telling y'all, watch Dion. He's gonna be prime time. But
He's gonna get that coach belly.
Well fed. He's gonna become big boned down there. I'm just saying, we eat well.
And I'm gonna say it like I say it every week, and I don't care if it does not rhyme. It's still mine. I'm Mikkel, like Kevin McHale. Tristan, 114, baby.
Yeah, we ready.
See you next week, America. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.